Hey everybody, this is Steve Moore, owner of Run More, a brick and mortar running shop located in Westminster, Maryland. Today we're going to be talking about the new HOKA Rocket X2. We are actually recording this in the end of February. This shoe does not launch until mid-March, so I am very excited. I've actually had a pair of these now for almost 2 weeks, so I've gotten to go out and do some runs in it and really put it through its paces, and I'm very appreciative, and it was very fun getting to do that and actually go test them out in real world to get some real life experiences in this shoe. Full disclosure, I love the Rocket X1. This is one of my all-time favorite shoes. In the past 18 months, I ran a lifetime PR in the half marathon in a Rocket X. I ran a adult best 2 mile and 5K in the probably last 15 years in the Rocket X. So I was very much excited for the new one, but just like any time you have a shoe you love, you're always worried about the new update coming. Like, would they change it? What if it's not going to be as good? So it was really good, and having a ton of experience in the Rocket X, it made me really have a lot of good thoughts on the Rocket X2. So just to start, this is a carbon-plated racing shoe from HOKA. This is going to be their new premier racing shoe later of all of 2023, and they've had a bunch of other shoes that are carbon plated, and I've run in all of them, from the Bondi X to the Carbon X to the Rocket X to the Carbon X2 and the 3 and all those stuff. So they've had a bunch of different ones in their arsenal, but this is a very big change. And actually, I always kind of found the Rocket X, it really was sort of an un-HOKA-like shoe. This to me looks much more like what you'd envision when you're thinking about a carbon-plated shoe from HOKA. This to me, it sort of just looks like a really fast kind of shoe. It looked like a racing flat, and perhaps that's what I liked about it. It was very firm, very fast, and it was very agile and nimble, which we'll kind of get into for a second there. But just some quick specs right off the bat here. The Rocket X was a 30 millimeter stack height. It had a 5 millimeter drop. And for me, my size 11 and a half foot, this shoe weighed in at exactly 8.5 ounces. So now the Rocket X2 has a 36 millimeter stack height down to 31. And this guy for me, again, 11 and a half weighs exactly 9.0 ounces. So it's a little bit heavier, but as you can hear, it's a much beefier shoe. Both of these shoes are actually only available in unisex sizing at the time being as well. This guy came in at $200, and the new Rocket X2 is now $250. So big price increase, big stack height, there's just very different. So really, you almost have to look at these as two different shoes. I know obviously we have a Rocket X and a Rocket X2, but almost for me, that's about where they finish their comparisons. It's very two different shoes. And quite honestly, I wish there was a world in which HOKA had both of these in their lineup, because I like them both for very different reasons. I think for me, this is your longer distance racing shoe now. This is your half marathon, 10 miler up to a full. I'm getting ready for Boston this year, and I had a shoe in mind, and I still have not decided 100%, but right now, this is probably gonna be the shoe that I race in Boston. I do a lot of running in HOKA, especially on the trail. I do a lot of trail running, but I race in the Rocket X, and I have some other road trainers that I use from HOKA. So I like that kind of feel. And it being a traditional higher stack height shoe like a lot of other HOKAs, it felt more HOKA-like. This really has a much more pronounced heel to toe roll. The geometry of this shoe, as you can kind of see, is much more exaggerated than you're getting from the Rocket. Again, this just, they're just so different. So this is more of a longer distance shoe. And what I mean is I wish there was a universe in which both these shoes existed. If I'm running a 5K, I'm still gonna prefer the Rocket X, the original. This just isn't the shoe that I would want to use to do that type of workout in. It's almost awkward and hard to kind of do a lot of big turns in this shoe. My first run I did in this, I was doing 2 mile repeats at marathon pace. And I had like this 1 mile perfect square in an industrial park. I like to do those kind of workouts in. So just 4 turns. But I would tell you two things. I will tell you that I was supposed to be doing it at marathon pace, but it became very apparent very quickly that this shoe did not want to go at that pace. It ended up going down to half marathon pace pretty quick. So if I'm able to run Boston at the pace that I was using this shoe and doing this workout in, I'll be very happy. But it was almost hard to reel it in. But those turns, it felt awkward. And if you've ever run in sort of a fast, high stack height shoe, you know what I mean. And I was thinking in my head, if I was doing 400 meter repeats on a sharp turn like that, I would definitely be having to come wide just to kind of get my balance. And in fact, at the end of the workout, I had a little bit of ankle pain just from taking those little turns. The Rocket X, I said earlier, it's mobile and nimble and all that kind of stuff because it really is. And for most of the people out there that are watching this, that are looking for that shoe to do a real fast 5K, you know, you've got your community Shamrock 5K coming up or whatever that you want to go out there, and most likely you're going to be doing it in just a regular community neighborhood. It's not like you guys most likely watching this are taking a pair of shoes and running on a flat track or something like that where there's not a lot of turns. You're probably doing them in the type of places that I do my racing at as well. So I want something that feels a little more streamlined. So shorter stuff, I'm still going to pull. I'd still prefer the Rocket X, and I'm probably going to scoop up another pair before they go away altogether, just so I always have one for that shorter stuff. But now if I'm doing stuff like, again, half marathon, longer, there's no doubt this is the shoe that I'm going to pull, especially, you know, from the HOKA family. And like I said, most likely probably for my race as well. It does weigh a little bit more, but wow, the premium feel on this shoe is there. Obviously, we talked about the geometry and how much more you get that toe off, but they have a very technical upper on it. Nothing too spectacular upper-wise on the Rocket, but they really put a lot of energy in the Rocket X, Rocket X2. You can see the technical feel of the upper, and it, you know, they talk about in their catalog it feeling like it kind of sucks into your foot, and that's sort of how it feels. Like it really immediately feels like it's part of your foot. It's got great padding around the heel, and I've had shoes that have this sort of type of upper to it that have kind of irritated my ankle. I've talked in a previous review about a shoe I was really excited about, but the way that their upper was, that was similar to this kind of design, didn't feel all that good. This felt great, and I was kind of worried when I first put it on that this was going to kind of bunch up or bug the top of my foot. This shoe has plenty of depth to it, so it felt like it accommodated me perfectly. It felt light. It felt like it held my foot well. And I would say of all of the carbon-plated shoes I've run in, this is the most felt like I had trampolines on my feet. And really, you almost needed the plate in there to kind of pull it all together because it is so unbelievably bouncy. And not just from HOKA. I mentioned I've run in all of their carbon-plated shoes. I have run in a lot of carbon-plated shoes from a lot of different brands. I will say the only brand that I've never worn, I actually haven't put on a pair of their shoes in 20 years, is Nike. So besides Nike, I have run in pretty much in a ton of different brands carbon-plated shoes. And this, to me, has the most bang for your buck as far as responsiveness and feeling like you really needed that plate, because there's a big balance between like the high-end P-back sort of material that we're seeing in premium shoes like this, and then the plate. And sometimes you feel more like the plate's doing the work, and sometimes you kind of feel like the midsole is doing the work. This really feels like a good connection of both of them. This is a definite, they don't call it this, but this is definitely a high performance, high premium P-backs material that's right between on top and the bottom of their carbon plate that you can see through here. And really, it is like you're stepping down and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be propelled forward. And that plate almost sort of balances it out. And I think without the plate, you would almost kind of feel even more wobbly in it as you do without it. I think you almost need that to kind of bring the stability into the shoe a little bit. And it just has such a nice turnover. You really feel that nice wheel underfoot and going. And if you never put on a shoe and just sprinted across a floor and have that like maniacal laugh of like, oh my gosh, what can this shoe do for me on race day? Like, then you need to keep looking for the right shoe, because that's how I felt. In fact, I texted my buddy, like as soon as I put the shoe on, I was like, you need to leave work right now and come put the shoe on. And like 90 seconds later, he came in and we both just sat there and laughed maniacally about how great this shoe is. So very excited. I'm like I said, I'm leaning towards using this for my personal race. So if you're looking for a fast-paced shoe for half or longer, or maybe a 10-miler, definitely give this a try. But if you're still looking for a shoe that's closer to the Rocket X or something for like shorter stuff, you know, maybe scoop up another pair of the Rocket X before it goes away, because this is a great shoe. For the right races. I still really like the Rocket X, but you know, for some of the stuff I have in my calendar this year, for sure, this is going to find a home for it. So if you have any questions on the Rocket X 1 or 2 or anything else, please feel free to leave it down below. We'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. And if you're interested in purchasing this fine product, you can use the link down below and put in promo code RUNMORE, and you'll save 10% on this or any other new model we have in our store. And I would be doing myself a disservice if I did not ask if you enjoyed this video. Give us a like and subscribe. It certainly helps us find new people out there. Thank you so much for watching our channel. Thanks for getting these shoes out to me early, HOKA. I really appreciate it. Happy and safe running out there, and we'll see you around town. Thanks a lot.